The night was calm, the kind of eerie stillness that settles before something unimaginable happens. The small town of Grayson lay quiet under a blanket of stars, its residents going about their evening routines without the faintest idea that their world was about to change forever. It started with a whisper, a barely perceptible hum that echoed through the air, a sound so strange that it made the hair on the back of people's necks stand on end. Sheriff Tom Whitaker sat in his office, sipping his usual cup of coffee, the clock ticking away in the background. He had spent decades patrolling these streets, and the sense of familiarity comforted him. But tonight there was something different. The phone rang abruptly, shattering the silence. "Sheriff, you need to see this," came the voice of Deputy Collins, his tone urgent and laced with fear. Tom frowned, setting down his cup. "What is it, Collins?" "Lights, Sheriff. Up in the sky. They're not normal." Tom grabbed his hat and stepped outside, his gaze drawn skyward. What he saw made his breath catch. High above the town, massive glowing orbs hovered silently, pulsing with an otherworldly light. They moved with an unsettling precision, almost as if they were watching. Meanwhile, across town, a young girl named Emily stared out of her bedroom window, her stuffed bear clutched tightly against her chest. "Mommy," she whispered, eyes wide. "The stars are moving." Her mother, Sarah, hurried to the window, gasping at the sight. "Stay inside, sweetie," she said, pulling the curtains shut. Fear gripped her heart as she reached for the phone to call her husband, who was working the late shift at the factory. Reports flooded in from all corners of town. People saw strange figures emerging from the shadows, tall and slender with eyes that shimmered like liquid mercury. They moved with unsettling grace, their presence undeniable yet incomprehensible. Dogs barked frantically, their instincts screaming warnings their owners could not understand. As panic spread, Sheriff Whitaker tried to maintain order. "Everybody stay calm. Get inside your homes and lock your doors," he shouted through a megaphone in the town square. But deep down, he knew that no locked door could keep out what had come. The aliens didn't announce their intentions. They didn't make contact. They simply observed, studied, and advanced. Power grids flickered and failed, plunging the town into darkness. Cars stalled in the streets, their engines rendered useless. Cell phones buzzed with static before falling silent. In the darkness, the aliens moved freely. People whispered of shadows flitting past their windows, of strange symbols etched into the earth where none had been before. Some brave souls ventured outside, only to vanish without a trace, leaving only eerie, pulsating lights in their wake. Dr. Marcus Holloway, the town's lone scientist, holed up in a small lab, frantically analyzing the signals that flooded the radio waves. "They're using some kind of frequency we don't understand," he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "They're communicating, but not with us, with something else." Elsewhere, inside the church, Father O'Reilly knelt in prayer, his hands trembling as he whispered ancient verses. "Deliver us from evil," he pleaded, glancing at the stained glass windows, which now cast strange, flickering shadows. As the hours stretched on, fear gave way to desperation. Families huddled together, hoping that the rising sun would banish the nightmares. But dawn brought no relief, only more questions. The glowing orbs remained, suspended in the sky, and the aliens had begun constructing something on the outskirts of town. Towering structures of unknown material rose overnight, humming with power. Sheriff Whitaker gathered a group of townspeople, armed with whatever they could find. "We need to know what they want," he said, his voice filled with determination. "If they wanted to hurt us, they'd have done it already. But we can't just sit here and do nothing." The group cautiously approached the alien structures, their steps hesitant and filled with dread. As they neared, a figure emerged, tall, elegant, and exuding an aura of intelligence beyond human comprehension. It raised a hand, and suddenly, their minds flooded with images and emotions. They saw distant galaxies, civilizations long gone, and an overwhelming sadness. The aliens weren't invaders. They were refugees, fleeing from something far worse. Tom staggered back, gasping for breath. They're running from something. Something coming here. The realization hit like a sledgehammer. The aliens weren't the threat. They were the warning. As the sky darkened once more, a low rumble echoed through the air. Something else was coming. Something far more terrifying than anyone had imagined.